Nigel, what was your association with the Roebuck Secondary School?
I was among the first students to have sat 11 plus and be put place there. One of the very, very first.
What year was that?
This would have been in 1978, maybe 97, yeah, 1979, 78.
I also understand that you had an association as a teacher with the Roebuck Secondary School. Is that correct?
Yeah, I returned to Roebuck to teach industrial arts in 1983. 1983. At the end of that year.
And he was also told that you're having some health challenges. What are those health challenges? And when did they start?
At present, I'm a prostate cancer fighter, if you could call it that. I'm fighting prostate cancer. Been doing so for the better part of the last 2 years. I was first diagnosed with prostate cancer in October of the year before last, that was in 2012.
What were the symptoms?
I didn't have any real symptoms of prostate cancer as such. I had had my normal prostate test the year prior to that. Actually, a more rigorous testing than anything else. And at a time, because I also had some other issues where it was really my prostate had been enlarging. But after you're 40, that's understandable. Then the year after that test, all of a sudden, my PSA levels went into the hundreds, past 100. So there's always room for concern. But you have to understand that this is an increase from 0.4 to 100 in less than a year. And that is unusual, very, very unusual. It would mean that my prostate cancer would have, it would mean that I would have prostate cancer instead of just an enlarged prostate, and serious concern within a year's examination discovery.
Do you have any friends or family who have ever died from prostate cancer, or any former schoolmates?
Not prostate cancer, but I do have a number of friends, a number of pretty good friends who would have passed within the last 10 to 15 years.
What about this book that I'm seeing you perusing? What's in that book?
It's not a teacher's back book, it's a diary.
Okay.
Over the last 5 years, I have noticed that a number of persons who are getting ill and who have gone to Lynch / Roebuck. I sit in a unique position being a former student, a teacher of that school. So I tend to see mostly persons who have come or gone through the doors of the school when it was opened.
You're saying quite a number. What number are we speaking of?
For sure, there are in excess of 70, almost 75 persons.
75 persons.
75 persons who would have had either respiratory illness or they would have had a diagnosis of cancer, or in other cases, they would have had other cancers.
And how many of those persons would have died, and in what time period would those persons would have died?
For sure, within the last 5 years, 3 or 4 of my very, very, very good friends would have passed. I recall, quite interestingly, sitting in a room, whether it's prayers or lunch, and you would sit with a number of persons. And I remember sitting with 3 or 4 just hanging around. And, well, 3 or 4 persons in that group, but there were many more. And 3 or 4 of those persons would have died. And I found that was alarming. As a teacher, you find it always alarming when your students pass. So over the years, I realized I'm going to funerals of my past students, which is a difficult thing to swallow, to go down, but I have been doing that. So that all came into form my alarm, my concern.
So you're saying the time period was a short time period?
Yep, no more than 15 years. We might stretch it to 20, but within the last 15 years, there is, from my recall, better than 5 persons who would have died of cancer or respiratory illness. Excuse me.
Tell us, did you bring this concern to anyone, any of the authorities, your principal, and did anyone listen to you?
General discussion. We spoke about it at school. You remember that Lynch was closed about 7 years ago, and that had been one of the bugbears. There's something wrong with the school, something wrong with the environment. And you remember that there was a lot of hype about respiratory illnesses. So we, and I say we as teachers, as parents, because I was a member of PTA obviously, and as past students, we were very concerned of a possible correlation between the school and these deaths and these ailments. Because all of them not dying, I mean, but there are a lot of people there who are ill, who are fighting a number of illnesses, who went to school, and you can't draw any reference, you can't draw any real connection between these people and cancer because they don't have a family history. They didn't go and play on any strange water, any strange playground in the middle of a lake. The only connection really is the school between those persons.
What advice or appeal, if you had to make an appeal, would you want to make to those persons who attended Lynch Secondary School or Roebuck Secondary School?
You know, we are in an era in Barbados where we're talking a lot about prevention. We're speaking a lot about taking tests early and so on. For prostate cancer in Barbados, they tell the men, come back when you're 45, come back when you're 47, come back when you're 70. And they're not readily giving you encouragement to take the prostate exam. My advice to any young man who went to Lynch, Roebuck, or indeed any young man at all in Barbados is to go and get your test. Get your test when you're 25, get your test when you're 35, because for whatever reason, cancer is rampant, but again, for whatever reason, it is also extremely rampant among the Lynch alumnus.
If you had to make one request to the government of Barbados, or should I ask, have you seen that report, or you didn't see the report on Lynch Secondary School?
Right now, it's a report that it was a report. I can't remember anybody seeing the report, which they would have taken, which they said would have assisted them in making a decision whether the school would come back into being or not. Nobody's seen this report. All we know is that the school has been closed for environmental reasons. And although I'm not casting any shadow or any blame to anybody, that's just not enough. Are these naturally occurring things? Did somebody introduce something in the environment that is foreign? Did somebody come with some sinister attack? What really happened? What did the report really say?
What it really was getting to is, if the Prime Minister of the country or the Minister of Environment or even the Minister of Education was here, what would you, Nigel Marshall, want to say to them or request of them?
I'd request full disclosure of what was in the report. I would request that very professionally led survey and test be done of past students of the school to find out exactly what is causing the connection, if there's a connection, and exactly what it is. I think that it is cause for concern when easily out of 75 persons, 5 or 6 persons would have died because of an illness. But even more in depth than that, an alarm, as it were. Lynch was not a school that was going on for 100 years. So you could estimate that maybe only 5,000 persons, if so much, would have gone through those doors. 75 persons out of 5,000 people going through the doors of any institution and who are presenting any similar illness is cause for concern. Very, very, very serious cause for concern.
So what's the prognosis for Nigel Marshall?
Well, my cancer started running. There was no walking or the off phase. So what my doctors and myself, what we're doing our very best to control the cancer, because a cure is not an option for me. You can live quite some time with prostate cancer, that is true. However, in young men below the age of 50, when you have prostate cancer, it tends to be very, very aggressive, and you have a fight on your hands, and I have a fight on my hands.
I understand you also have a young family, one daughter who's at university now. How is your family coping?
My family support me 150% in anything and everything they would want, whether it be emotional, financial, spiritual, what have you. They've supported me, and I wouldn't want this on anybody at all. It's very expensive. It's very emotionally draining. They are coping at this stage because it is a tremendous shock. For me, it was a tremendous shock. I had to hit the ground running to deal with this. My 13-year-old daughter, my 21-year-old, there is a lot to ask them. To see the daddy being sick, to see him change from 205 pounds to maybe 150, 140, to see him not active on whether the volleyball court or playing field or what have you, into a person that basically maintains a minimal level of exercise by just living. It has touched my family tremendously.
Final thing, Nigel, I understand you're having some challenges as it relates to your medication. What are those challenges?
Anybody who has an ailment in Barbados, who has dealt with the drug service, the QEH initiative to give you medication will tell you their problems. Cancer treatment is tremendously expensive. And for me, it is extremely expensive in that a lot of the drugs are not necessarily on the formulary, so I have to foot the bill. And what made it extremely difficult is that just recently, just a couple of weeks ago, I've been asked to pay for or acquire the drug because they just don't have my cumulative.
What was the cost of that drug?
There are 3 drugs that I use, and my monthly outlay for those drugs alone is about $1,500, $1,200 to $1,500, in excess of anything we'll go up with my doctors, any tests I will have.
All that's left for me to do is to wish you the best, okay? And I hope things really work out for you, because I've known you for many years and I know that you're a fighter. So I hope that you keep that good fight out. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Even more so, my faith in God, which I must, because Had it not been for God, my faith in God and his faithfulness to me, I would not be here today speaking to anybody. So, thank you very much, Cameron.